All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Appreciate all the love and support with you guys coming over. They say Cassie Stylist exposes disturbing details in explosive testimony. Now, I talked about people being very close to the situation who probably witnessed a lot of things, just wondering if they're going to come out and talk or not. And apparently, the stylist did. Now, it's very important here because, with everything that has been coming out so far, you're trying to see if things line up, if the stories are kind of the same, or if they're different. It's very, very important. I just want to know if things are going to be backing what Cassie said and everybody else said. But yeah, shout out to the Law and Crime Network channel. I hope it's the one lady, Elizabeth, talking, because she has been given amazing details. So we ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
It's really, really important. So without further ado, I want to bring on Elizabeth Milner, law and crimes reporter, who has been in that courtroom every day for testimony. Elizabeth, so great to see you. I have to start with Deontay Nash, okay, because I can feel the personality through the court updates. Talk to us about, this was again, right before the lunch break, called by the prosecution. What did he say, and how was his testimony relevant to Cassandra Ventura?
Well, I'm not going to lie, Jesse. I absolutely love everything about Deontay Nash being on the witness stand. He's funny, he's sassy, and look, when I see it, if I were to see an exhibit photo of myself and I looked in in this glamorous headshot, I would tell the entire courtroom too that I looked fabulous and stunning, and there was just this eruption of laughter inside the courtroom. And so Deontay Nash definitely at some points during his testimony, the personality is brought out, but he is there.
It's crazy because they're saying all this stuff, saying, the personality and this, and people are laughing. What is Diddy doing? He's here talking about how good he look and this and that. And, Diddy knows what happened. Diddy knows what he did. So for this person to get up there and have the courtroom laughing and stuff, and Diddy is looking like my life is in jeopardy right now. Oh, I know he got to be feeling it. Got to be feeling it because you can tell like everybody there loves this dude. So, wow.
Talk about a lot of substance too, and that is just about his working relationship with Cassie Ventura as well as even Diddy. He styled both of them. However, he did have kind of a better friendship and relationship with Cassie, and he witnessed a lot according to his testimony during his time while he had worked as a stylist with her. And so we're introduced to Deontay Nash around 12 o'clock ish, right before the lunch break. He was the last witness who was called before we went to lunch, and so he was kind of explaining just how he had started working with Diddy and Cassie. He started off as an intern for Derek Roche, and Derek Roche was actually Diddy's stylist. And when Deontay is on the witness stand, Jesse, he's not even referring to him as Diddy or Sean Combs. He calls him Puff or Puffy. That is what he calls him by, and that's normally the name that he's familiar with. And so we do see that exhibit photo of Deontay Nash. It was a glamour shot of him, and of course, he said that he looked amazing and fabulous, and I'm sure the transcript read just that, but just being inside the courtroom, it definitely was kind of a good, funny, highlighted moment, and then it got more serious from there. So he was explaining that he had worked with Diddy and Cassie from 2008 to 2018, so about a 10-year period.
Wow.
Then we get into the 2009 to 28 time frame, which is a long time, but Maureen Comey, who did the questioning under the direct examination, was essentially asking some foundational questions just about how much time Deontay spent with Cassie, and he said he spent pretty much every single day with Cassie. He said he saw Diddy and Cassie together, though, about once a week, but that's still a pretty often time. And then he was asked, what were the names that Diddy referred to Cassie as? So first, Deontay was like, oh, baby girl, Cassie, But then he said that Diddy would also refer to her as the B word. He would call her an SLUT. He would call her a hoe. But he said it's the B word that was his favorite word to use in reference to his own girlfriend, that being Cassie. And he said, he being Deontay, said that Diddy would call Cassie an outright hoe, an outright SLUT. And I'm sorry, guys, I know I have to be very careful with just the words that I can say on air. But Deontay explained that when Diddy would call her these names and when he would use these words against her, that Cassie would be sad. She would be depressed about this name calling. Deontay went on to explain that Diddy threatened Cassie a number of times, threatened to release.
Wow. Again, another person. So I'm gonna have to edit that out, but she was saying that he witnessed Diddy tell Cassie, like, I will release your tapes, you know, I will beat your sheesh, man.
And it drove Cassie essentially crazy. She would cry. She would stay in the house. Deontay explained that Cassie would essentially cocoon up when Diddy would just call her these names. And Diddy threatened not to release her music, something that the government has talked about at length throughout a bunch of different witness testimony. And around this time frame from 2012, 2013-ish, again, when Deontay was still working with Diddy and Cassie, Deontay explained that Diddy threatened to do something to Cassie's parents. Now, they didn't elaborate what this threat was, but I'm sure once we get back from the lunch break, they'll kind of expand more on just that. But it seems like from Deontay's point of view that Diddy threatened Cassie a number of times. Diddy even threatened Cassie and Deontay that Cassie couldn't go out with Deontay and that she needed to bring her behind home, essentially, and that Cassie again would be referred to as the B word, and that Cassie would have to essentially do whatever Diddy said, whether it was how her appearance looked, whether her hair was down a certain way, whether it was up a certain way. And so I think as far as just the direct examination goes, yes, we did have a funny moment at the beginning of testimony, but really just getting into just kind of the weight of the testimony, it seems that Deontay is kind of, in essence, kind of giving more credibility to a lot of the other witness testimony, just about how mean and potentially forceful Diddy was against her.
Right. When you're talking about violence, threats, verbal abuse, it's all important for force, fraud, coercion, right? The underlying elements for trafficking. And also goes to the larger theme of why Cassie didn't walk away, why she didn't fight back, why didn't she report Sean Combs? It's a big issue in this case. And talking about that power dynamic is something that's already come up in the past few weeks, and obviously something that's being explored with his testimony. There was a lot of testimony this morning regarding Kid Cudi, because Kid Cudi had taken the stand last week, said that he had this relationship with Cassandra Ventura, and then was retaliated against by Sean Combs, that his house was broken into, his car was torched. And I got to ask you, Elizabeth, based on the testimony today from, I believe, members of Los Angeles Police Department and the fire department, it seems like that might have happened, that his house was broken into and that his car was actually firebombed, right? I mean, what were some of the highlights regarding that testimony about whether this, in fact, did happen?
Yeah, well, we heard a lot of evidence this morning, especially with the first witness that was called to the stand, and that was Officer Christopher Ignacio. He does work with the LAPD. And he was just explaining his response to the December 2011, this happened December 22nd of 2011, the response to the break-in at Kid Cudi's home. And so it was just interesting kind of hearing his perspective just from an evidentiary standpoint, from a police perspective. And so he says that he was dispatched around 8:20 a.m. that day about a possible suspect kind of staring down near and around the house. And so he responded, and when he responded, what did he see? He noticed right off the bat a black Escalade. And it's interesting that that was one of the first things he said when he was talking about his response, because what did we learn just yesterday when Capricorn Clark was on the stand? That Diddy, Ruben, and Capricorn Clark, according to her testimony, traveled down to Kid Cudi's house in what? A black Escalade. And Officer Ignacio was explaining that he didn't notice the passengers inside the vehicle because there was so much heavy tint on the windows. But what he did notice was a particular license plate. And he said that that license plate number stuck out to him. He remembered that license plate number. He explained that while they had arrived to the house, his partner had jumped over the fence to kind of let him in to the door. So they opened the door. No one was home at the time, but what they did notice was some unwrapped gifts. And it's interesting because while Kid Cudi was testifying, he said that there were gifts unwrapped in the kitchen area. These were fancy gifts, kind of like Chanel bags and watches, that type of thing. And so then later on, more detectives arrived to this area. But it's interesting, Jesse, because he was explaining that, excuse me, he was explaining that when they had exited the home, they noticed that same exact black Escalade kind of driving back towards the hill, driving at a slower pace, around 10 to 15 miles per hour. He said around the first time he saw the black Escalade that they were driving off fast, which I think also goes to verify Capricorn Clark's explanation, or Capricorn Clark's testimony yesterday, where she was explaining how she, Ruben, and Diddy had all spotted Kid Cudi's car. They chased him and then excuse me, later return. And so right before the direct examination ended, we see this exhibit photo. And I think that the prosecution kind of did a big like aha moment here, because we see the DMV vehicle registration. And I know you kind of spoiled it anyway, Jesse, but that vehicle was registered to Bad Boy Productions, Inc. And it was the exact same license plate that Officer Ignacio had first spotted. And so that was the big moment just from his testimony. Obviously, under the cross-examination, it was really picked apart just as far as his response goes to investigating this break-in, whether or not that there were dead ends around the Hollywood Hills neighborhood, and maybe that was an explanation as to why the black Escalade was seen again. And I think, when Brian Steele was doing the cross-examination, he was poking holes where holes needed to have been poked, right? He was asking questions as far as why a BOLO response wasn't put out, why no arrests were made, why nothing was charged beyond just trespassing. It was no burglary charge or no robbery charge, any of that sort. He didn't spot a car chasing another car, and he didn't hear about it.
Wow. So I just found another video from Law and Crime, and it's kind of explicit, so I'm gonna just kind of talk about what was just said. It was saying that Nash, the stylist that testified, said that he was witnessing what Diddy was doing to Cassie, and he intervened. He said he jumped on Diddy's back, and Diddy threw him down, and he says, Mia too. So they're trying to see if the other girl, Mia, is going to testify. Because there is another witness that's seen Diddy getting physical. Now, this is huge because, from other things that we've heard, you'll hear that Diddy has a security, and it just seems like security was watching. This stylist seems to be the only person who actually tried to help Cassie. Don Richard even testified, with the whole egg situation, that what she witnessed Diddy do. And Diddy came back downstairs talking about this is just love and y'all better not say nothing. So the stylist actually intervened. Let me see. I'm looking at some comments here. Someone said, how is it the stylist had more heart than any other people who witnessed this? Yeah, Mr. Nash is brave, and I respect that. See, this is what I'm talking about, man. I just don't think the jury can overlook it. Again, I know he's not being charged with a lot of the stuff that has been coming out, but it's starting to add up, and it's building that case. Is that the foundation is laid, and other things are starting to come out. But that's what I talked about in the get-go. Drivers, security, all that stuff. A lot of people are going to be witnessing things, and you're starting to see how many people did and how many people actually did not help. So shout out to Nash for intervening. But hey, appreciate y'all coming over and watching, man. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.